total workforce in Ghana. Industry employed 19% and agric employed 34%. And one thing we need to also note is that our economy is highly informalized. Over 80% of the population get their livelihood from the informal sector. And most informal sector activities are into services. So when you look at this and how the pandemic has affected every economy globally, we see that services are at the brunt of this. Why is that? Because as you indicated in your discussion, a lot of people are being careful because of the way the disease spreads. Basically, people are being careful. People are not patronizing salons, tailoring, activities, domestic help. Everybody is being careful by keeping a physical distance from others. So when you look at this, hospitality industry, most hotels, according to the statistics the minister indicated, about 30% of their capacity is what they are operating right now. And why am I talking about all these restaurants? Most of them now are doing takeout. Yeah. And remember, a lot of people are at home. So when you are at home, the tendency for you to order food is very low.
Yeah.
Let's look at education. A lot of children are at home. Every child basically is at home. And most of them, quite a number, are also from private schools. And most of these private entrepreneurs cannot continue to support their workers. They have teachers who are the core of education. Most of them are going on virtual platforms, but not everybody has the infrastructure. So a lot of teachers have been affected. A lot of people within the tourism, hospitality industry have been affected. Most people are being given the option to take a pay cut and others are being laid off. But the precarious nature of the situation is that when you look at the average income of the Ghanaian worker, it is not enough for people to make adequate savings. So when you ask, people are living paycheck to paycheck. So next month, if people do not earn income, then the issue becomes a very difficult one. And on average, when you take every Ghanaian worker, they have at least 3 to 5 dependents. So it is not just about the individual worker that has lost the job. It is not just about the individual tailor who is no longer getting people to patronize their wares, but it is a whole family and it has its rippling effect. So it is quite dire looking at the way our economy is structured. And that said, every economy in the world is struggling. So I will not say that it is only peculiar to Ghana.
Indeed.
But the onus is on us for us to find innovative ways to try to alleviate the hardship that has been brought on us as a result of this pandemic.
Right. Thank you for that. Now, please stay with us. We're joined now by the CEO of the Ghana Employers Association, Alex Frimpong. So perhaps we can start to narrow down a bit closer on some definitive numbers. Mr. Frimpong, thank you so much for your time with us. Good morning.
Good morning, and good morning to your listeners.
Again, I'll ask if you could slightly reposition. I think we're having that same problem we had with an earlier caller. The line is a bit choppy. If you could reposition yourself for a slightly clearer signal, Mr. Frimpong, that would be wonderful.
Is it better now?
I think it is. Let's see how we go.
Okay.
So, Mr. Frimpong, tell us from the perspective of your association, what are your numbers? How many jobs have evaporated because of COVID-19?
Well, thank you. I think for now we do not have specific numbers to share. The information we have from our members is that since the pandemic started, a lot of them have laid off their casual, temporary, contract staff.
Sorry, we missed that. I think the line again wasn't so great.
What I'm saying is that from the information we have from our members, since the pandemic started, especially when the president announced the
Forgive me, Mr. Frimpong. I'm so sorry, but we're struggling so much to follow you. We're going to just hang up and call you back, okay, so that we can get a clearer line. Forgive us for that. We're so sorry. We'll try and fix it. But Dr. Chumesi-Bafo is still with us. Now, so in the absence of data, how do we even as a nation plan properly how and where to direct interventions? The president has announced a number of things, in addition to the gifting of water bills and some parts of our electricity bills. There's been an announcement of some interventions in terms of 600 million to SMEs. Recently, we heard that something would go to the hospitality sector as well. But how do we properly target these interventions when we struggle so much to even know the size of the problem?
Okay, so I don't think it's such a bad situation, given that we have historical data to work with. So we can make projections out of the data that exists. So talking about stimulus to SMEs, I know that, these organizations have an association. So, for example, you can talk of Association of Ghana Industries, National Board for Small Scale Industries, which is NBSSI. These institutions are now at the core of the issues. They've got their members. So I believe that we can start the targeting from there. Companies, SMEs, are registered with these institutions. They have an idea of the number of workers each institution has and so on and so forth. So based on that, we can do adequate and timely targeting. Payroll support to these SMEs to help keep their workers. So the point here really, elsewhere people, other countries are given unemployment benefits. We do not have the data and the sophistication to do that. So now what we need to do is to support people to keep their jobs, even if they don't have much to do. So payroll support to SMEs to help them keep the workforce that they have is very critical. And here it means that we have to act quick, because people need to get their lives going, even if they are not working. And when you look at the projection of GDP, which is estimated to be about 1.5 because of this pandemic, the issue basically, when we talk about GDP, we are looking at the value of total production of goods and services in the economy. So how do we make sure that as we enact policy, social distancing, washing of hands and all that, to try to, in a way, flatten the disease infection curve, we also need to bear in mind how do we also flatten the recession curve that we are facing right now. And with the recession, we are looking at the downward trend of the growth in the GDP. And one way we can do that is to get people to spend. And here I am using spending carefully, because we need to also know whether the supply is also there for the goods and services that people will be spending on. So the bottom line is we need to get people incomes, monies that they can spend on goods and services that are produced domestically. Because if you look at it, the pandemic has made every economy very inward looking. Now the global supply chain is virtually non-existent. So we need to dig within and find what will work for us. But the bottom line is we need people to get monies to spend so that the economy does not grind to a halt.
Okay, well, so I think we're rejoined now by Alex Frimpong of the Ghana Employers Association. Let's see if we have a better line. Mr. Frimpong? Hello, Mr. Frimpong.
Hi.
There you are. Oh, perfect. It sounds great now. So if you don't mind walking us through the point you were making earlier about the fact that you don't quite yet have the numbers for your association.
Okay. Yes, as I indicated earlier, when this pandemic started, especially when the partial lockdown was announced by the Excellency President, what we got from our members was that they are laid off all the casual, temporary, and contract staff, that they were going to monitor the situation and really analyze and find out what steps they needed to take to make sure that they were able to sustain business and also sustain jobs, and that there was a need for some stimulus packages from government to be able to have a reasonable assurance of employment sustainability. So as we speak now, we do not have the right figures. We are yet to get them, and sooner than later we'll share that information with the public. But we do not have the concrete figures, except to indicate that they have laid off the contract, casual, and temporary staff. And then, if the situation does not change, the likelihood for businesses to review the numbers is very, very high, because of all the factors of production, the sensitive human resource. So, for an enterprise to lose business, and they will not really be able to rake in the needed revenue, definitely sustaining employment and also paying employees is going to be a challenge. So that is where we still need some clear understanding and direction on how these stimulus packages work. So we are in discussions with the stakeholders to make sure that these concerns of businesses are really adhered to continuously to ensure that we avert any potential layoffs.
Right. It's an interesting point you're making, but it's also occurring to me, Mr. Frimpong, that, the government's aim is for some of your members, at least, to benefit from these interventions. 600 million to SMEs. Was it 3 billion that was announced yesterday to the hospitality sector? Your members, some of them, will be affected by this. Is it not a problem that your association doesn't have the numbers, the figures, I mean? Will that not make it difficult for you to accurately assess these interventions?
Well, as I said, we have sent around a survey instrument to find out from them what are the exact numbers. We are still receiving the data to go through analysis and we share with the public. But to come to the 3 billion that you indicated, I think it is an initiative between government of Ghana and the banks, and we are already aware of that. And what is meant for is not only for the hospitality sector; it is for the manufacturing and other sectors. And this is being done under the auspices of the Bankers Association, which was announced earlier. But the president reinforced the fact that these facilities also are available beyond the 600 million. So again, we are also in discussion to make sure that these modalities are favorable so that businesses can take advantage of that. We want to look at the various terms that anybody who wants to take advantage of that will have to really go through. So this is what we are doing for now. I'm sure in the shortest possible time we'll share with the public about the figures of jobs that have really been lost.
Now, there are a lot of people listening who are anxious. They don't know how safe their jobs are. So help us out. Take us into the mind of the Ghanaian employer. You know, when it gets to such a difficult time and you have to let some people go, what are some of the deciding factors? What are some of the traits, of an employee that would increase their chances of keeping their job at a time like this?
Well, I think one of the most difficult decisions to take in any organization is to decide to lay off. Why do you say so? Say so because the businesses struggle to make sure that they train, retrain, and upscale their employees to be able to cope with the needs and demands of the various enterprises. And even if two businesses are doing the same thing, the workers are not the same. The difference is the capacity of the workers in these different enterprises. So the last decision any employer would want to take is to lay off their employees. So currently in discussions with a lot of them, the main issue has to do with what is in it for us regarding the stimulus packages. If the stimulus packages do not really help them to resolve these temporary difficulties, I can assure you that in the end, if they are not able to hold on to the sustainability of business, it may likely translate into loss of jobs. So that is the area that is very, very critical to a lot of businesses. But again, in discussions with businesses, one of the key areas that they think is very necessary is for us to look at how collectively we can handle the containment of the pandemic. Because that is fundamental. No matter what any business does, no matter what anybody does, no matter what plans, measures you want to put in place, if we are unable to contain the pandemic in the short, medium, and long term, I can assure you that the situation is going to be very difficult. So we need to really spend a lot of time, resources, and efforts to make sure that we're able to contain the pandemic. Otherwise, no matter what we do, we are going to still be crunching the numbers and we'll see potential layoffs.
Right, let me bring in Dr. Chumesi Bafo here. Now, Doc, suddenly we find ourselves in a situation where there's an interesting relationship between science and economics that is emerging in many countries around the world. The president, had to make a decision that balanced science and economics when he lifted the lockdown. In fact, he had to make the same sort of decision when he instituted the lockdown. So decisions now. Decisions of economic actors are heavily influenced by science. Looking at our situation in Ghana, do you think employers have enough information to help them make the necessary decisions, who to lay off, who to put on furlough, who to send on leave without pay, who to completely terminate, and so forth? Do employers have enough scientific data in Ghana to make these decisions?
Well, I will not be very confident about that. But as you asked, if an employer is faced with the option of laying a number of workers off, the employer would look at certain characteristics of the worker. You know that people are employed to do a particular task. So you look at whether the zeal with which people work, are people very productive? Do people take initiatives? Do people have to be directed every step of the way to do particular tasks? So clearly, when a worker is an employer, is faced with the option to let people go, he will let the ones that require a lot more effort for them to be productive to go first. So like Mr. Frimpong indicated, casual workers, those are a very vulnerable group. They are hired periodically because a firm needs to meet a certain demand. If the demand no longer exists, then those people are the first group to go. Contract workers. So clearly it brings to fore the vulnerability of the Ghanaian worker because of the nature of our economy, basically. But when you look at it, as a take-home, as for every individual worker, I would say that the traits of the worker is very critical. Employers have business to make profits. So engaging an individual X and individual Y, if X proves that the person can work with little or minimum supervision, the person can easily fit into a new role, and that is the phenomenon we are seeing right now. Now, a lot of workers would have to relearn new tasks and be moved around. And when you ask which group will be more malleable to be in that situation, do you require little supervision to do new tasks, or it requires a lot of effort? So when you look at it, people are shifting factory floor workers into sales department, into online marketing and all that. All these will depend on the traits and the ability of the worker to be able to fit into new roles. So that will be my response to that. But as to whether employers have exact data to be able to do that, I know that at this point in time, human resource managers are critical. They deal with the workers and they know exactly the traits and characteristics every worker exhibits on the job.
Now, let's do an assessment of how government is intervening. A number of things have been announced in addition to this 3 billion, which is actually for all SMEs, not just for hospitality sector, as I said earlier. It's actually for all SMEs. So in addition to that, there's also the earlier announcement of the 1.6 billion, which out of which 600 million was supposed to go to SMEs. And a number of other interventions. We've got the electricity bills and the water bills and so forth. The government is doing a lot. But would you say that this economy has a scope to do more, considering what our receivables were last year, what our targets were this year, where we are in terms of our budget performance against our budget? Is there scope for this government to do more, perhaps borrow and shore up the economy even more than they have already?
For now, I will not be too optimistic about the prospects of government doing more. Why is that? Because government is also in a very tight fiscal space. How does government generate revenue to spend? Through taxation, domestic revenue mobilization. And when you look at it, now those sources will not be flowing in. A key chunk of our revenue basket, which is basically through oil revenue, has also been severely devastated. When you look at crude oil prices on the international market, it is very depressing. So all our projections are out in the window, if you ask. Here, I'll give you a typical scenario. You remember in 2014, we had an international oil price shock, where crude oil prices fell by about 54% in 7 months. And when you look at the growth path of Ghana, it took the country almost 3 years to recover. This pandemic has brought in a heavier shock. And here, crude oil prices are falling over 54% in just 3 months. And most of our projections are based on these critical revenue inflows. So I will not say that government has the fiscal space to go spending and doing more in the economy within the limits of resources that are available to us. IMF inflows, a few here and there. Government is doing a bit. And in a way, when you read through the economists behind or the science behind the actions governments have taken, for example, covering water bills, electricity bills partially, it is all indirectly attempts to put monies in the hands of people so that they can spend. So for now, I would say that the measures that have been rolled out, we need to be very critical and look through to make sure that the support goes to the people that need it the most, right? The people that need it, and on a timely manner, because livelihoods have to go on. And when we look at this, you see that, for example, in my discussion earlier, industry, now the construction subsector is virtually grinded to a halt. Because of social distancing, most projects have been put on hold. So workers need to get their livelihoods back. And the whole idea is the interventions that have been rolled out, we need to be fast and quick with it so that people will get the resources that are due them to get things running.
Right. Thank you for that. Now, stay with us. Mr. Frimpong, I've been thinking, even though many people are hard hit by these recent events, there are some sectors that are benefiting or that are actually making more money in these times. Perhaps those who sell medical supplies, those who provide services for people at home, like TV and entertainment services and so forth. There are some some people, some sectors that are doing well. Do you get such stories from your association members?
No, in the sense that the pandemic has really hit businesses in different ways. Even though some of these sectors you have mentioned are not directly impacted upon negatively, you realize that people who ordinarily would want to spend some of their legal resources on these services will now have to concentrate on how to sustain themselves and their families. So even though they may not be directly affected, I think I'm not too sure whether they will still have the revenue projections that they really perceived in the beginning of the year. And in all these cases, when you talk to them, revenue is on the decline, and they are trying to break even. So that is the story with some of the businesses that are not even directly impacted upon. So you look at some sectors like even the retail sector. Even though during the partial lockdown, these businesses were so open, you realize that patronage was a bit low. Manufacturing has also slowed down. You also realize that as for the hotels and the restaurants and the hospitality industry, I'm sure we are all clear as to how it has negatively impacted upon them. Yeah. And we also need to look at how, for instance, agriculture, even though it has not been impacted upon negatively, what can we do to make sure that we reverse the trends? So, even manufacturing, pharmaceuticals, this is a very critical point for the industry. But would the public have the resources to really be able to procure pharmaceutical products? That's also another matter. Education ordinarily may not be affected, but the private sector with education is quite paramount in Ghana. So under the circumstances, you realize that they are really hit hard because they are not able to generate enough revenue to pay employees, and businesses are also have to maintain some fixed cost. You have to pay some fixed cost, which is really having an effect on these institutions because the revenue mainly from school fees are not forthcoming because all the kids and the students are at home. So relatively, these are some of the key issues that are happening. But then quickly touch on the fact that employers, when they want to decide who is laid off, I think at this time, what is going on, the pandemic goes to the heart and survival of every organization. So in conversation with business leaders, they have teams that are analyzing every aspect of the business. So in the event that they want to do layoffs, I can assure you that through the performance management, the strategy that they want to put in place, and the way they want to use other tools to ensure that employees deliver, for instance, stay working from home, and all the technology that are available to them, business will be able to make decisions based upon science, based upon data, and based upon their own projections, and especially the strategy and the organizational systems and processes. So, trust me, businesses are really, really, really on a daily basis analyzing the situation.
And quite a situation it is. Thank you for that. Now, stay with us. This conversation is quite revealing. We're learning quite a bit from Doc and of course from the Employers Association. When we come back, we'll try and look into the future. We'll try and imagine what it will look like. Is there a possible date ahead of us when we can actually see things turning around? That and more when we return. Stay with us.
What would you do if you have the choice to do anything in life? Build your dream house, take very good care of your family, and plan for a comfortable retirement. Plan a befitting funeral for your loved ones when they depart. How would you live if you knew there was a friend waiting to support you on all of your life's choices?
You have such a friend in Glyco Life Insurance. Glyco Life has all the plans to meet your life's needs. Your child's education, your life savings, your mortgage, funerals, redundancy, and your retirement, and takes the burden off your shoulders. So go ahead and live life to the fullest today with Glyco Life insurance plans. And remember that all our policies are hedged against inflation. Talk to Glyco Life on 0302 218 500 or 246 142. Also visit our website at www.glycolife.com or any of our branches nationwide for more information.
Glyco Life, we cushion you for life.
Glyco, we cushion you for life.
Oh no, I miss shopping at my affordable and most convenient shopping mall in Ghana. When will they open?
You mean West Hills Mall? They never close. Your favorite mall is open, providing all the essential needs.
Wow, how did I miss that?
Well, open your eyes, my dear.
AC, Kweku, now that you're home, get yourselves ready. Let's go shopping at West Hills Mall.
Go on and have fun.
Now, let's go shopping.
Yes, but only if you're going with your sanitizers and nose masks. I hear West Hills Mall doesn't joke about anti-COVID safety protocols.
Baby, I got you covered. Don't worry.
West Hills Mall, Ghana's biggest, best stock and most secure one-stop family shopping center with this spacious hallway, filled parking space, food court, recreational and entertainment outlet. Remember to always wash your hands with soap and running water.
Let's go West Hills Mall.
Because the greatest things are born from the smallest of thoughts. Just as your seeds in a rich soil grow to become trees that bear fruits, the Agricultural Development Bank, ADB, helps you sow, invest, nurture, and grow your personal and business plans by serving you with years of banking ingenuity and experience in agribusiness, corporate and commercial banking, consumer finance, e-banking, and many more through our network branches across the country. Whatever the culture, whatever the dream, we grow with you. Call us today on 0302 210 210 or visit www.agricbank.com. ADB, truly agric and more.
It's time for Extra. Our unlimited Airtel Tigo bundles now last extra long. Simply dial *111# to make unlimited Airtel Tigo calls for 6 whole months at just 20 Ghana cedis. To the film,
Airtel Tigo. Life is simple. Stakeholders, industry players, and regulators, you have always been part of us, growing an industry which is an integral part of society. We will continue to work with you as partners to ensure media excellence. Thank you.
Celebrating 25 years.
The coronavirus is real. We have to take the necessary precaution and follow the safety protocols in order to stay safe and protect our loved ones. The Junction Mall, your favorite shopping and entertainment destination, has put in place the necessary safety protocols to provide a safe, secure, and serene shopping environment during this period. Please do your part as well. Wear a nose mask before you visit the center. Wash your hands with soap under running water at the hand washing facilities provided. Use the hand sanitizers provided at vantage locations in the mall. And finally, observe the social distancing protocols put in place in the various shops. We need you and your family alive for a better tomorrow. We've implemented the no mask, no entry policy at all our entrances per the government directive. Please observe the safety protocols to help reduce the spread of the virus. Stay safe, stay healthy. Follow our social media handles at The Junction GH for further details. The Junction Mall. Join, explore, shop, enjoy.
Morning Show.
0302 799 788. They've got you covered. All right, now let's wrap up with our guests on the phone. Alex Frimpong is the CEO of Ghana Employers Association, and Dr. Priscilla Chumesi Bafo is a senior lecturer at the University of Ghana. Now, I want to come to you first for your final thoughts on this. And what I'm thinking right now, Mr. Frimpong, is this: how long can employers in Ghana hold on?
Well, it is subject to the effective containment of the pandemic, because pandemic is at the heart of all these issues that we are discussing. So that is why I indicated earlier on that we need to really work together with government and observe all the protocols, measures that have been put in place to contain or rid the pandemic in this country. Otherwise, we are going to have a lot of difficulties. As you rightly said, I'm not sure businesses can hold on in the long haul. So fundamentally, we need to really spend time, resources, and energies, and educate, especially our communities, our workers, and their families on how we can work together to rid the pandemic of the system. Otherwise, I'm not too sure that businesses can forever hold on, because revenue is at stake, business stability is at stake, lives are at stake, and livelihoods are also at stake. So doing the balancing act, it will be very, very difficult if the financial resources or the wherewithal is not there. So my point is that let us try to work together, re-energize, re-strategize to make sure that we work together with the government to rid this country of the pandemic. That is the only way out.
So science must lead. Okay. Dr. Priscilla Chumesi Bafo, let me ask you this then. Economically, when you look into the future, without obviously the benefit of science, science giving us any kind of indication, when you look into the future, is there a sort of, what's the word I'm looking for? A date beyond which our economy will no longer be able to limp along under these circumstances? A point beyond which Ghana's economy will have to effectively collapse if this pandemic is not reversed?
Oh, this is a difficult one. I believe that once we stick to the measures that have been outlined for us, social distancing, hand hygiene, wearing of masks, we can still weather the storm. And so long as businesses are supported to be creative and find new ways of doing things, because subsequently the new normal is going to be a bit different until the scientists tell us we find a vaccine for this. So before then, we need to contain the spread so that our livelihoods will go on and the economy, although is on a downward spiral, will not be that badly hit. But for now, if you ask, we need to, just like we are doing, managing through cares. That is basically what you're doing, managing through cares, managing the incidence of the disease so that we bring it down, and also managing the care for the economy, which is basically the recession curve, making sure that it doesn't dip too badly. And overall, if you ask, I would say that we seem to be on track in terms of measures to try to make sure that our economy doesn't grind to a halt, because that will also have very devastating consequences, just like the disease is having on other economies elsewhere. So, for example, when you look at it, you indicated the science behind the lifting of the lockdown, for example, was basically dictated or to a large extent influenced by the fact that people's livelihoods would have to go on regardless of the rate of infection. So we are not doing badly in terms of the measures and policies that we have rolled out, but the point is in the implementation, are we being very urgent about it? Because this is a sudden shock and we also need to respond to it in a more, we have to be very tactful and timely about the response, because we know that economic indicators also take some time to respond to whatever shock that is introduced in the system at any point in time.
Well, at least there is a glimmer of hope, and we certainly pray that we weather these tough times. Thank you ever so much, Dr. Priscilla Chumesi-Bafo, Senior Lecturer at the Department of Economics, University of Ghana, and Alex Frimpong, CEO of the Ghana Employers Association. God bless you both. Thanks for your time.